On to this now. Sub-Saharan Africa may suffer its first recession in 25 years due to COVID-19. That's according to the World Bank. Growth is forecast to fall sharply in 2020. Econometrix Chief Economist, Dr. Azar Jammine, speaks to us now via Skype. Dr. Jammine, thank you very much for your time. Firstly, your reaction to the extension of the 2 weeks wasn't unexpected, was it?
It wasn't unexpected, and to be honest, on reflection, I realized that it was probably the right move. The arguments against the extension of the lockdown was that the lockdown has already inflicted so much damage on the economy, we didn't want it to inflict still more damage. The reality is that a lot of the damage has already been done, and things would not have returned to normal even if the lockdown had been lifted. We would still have seen people refraining from going to restaurants, from traveling, and that kind of thing. But the benefits of extending the lockdown in terms of reducing the curve might be substantial. The problem is we don't really know, and many feel that it would have been irresponsible not to extend the lockdown. It's something that has been done in many countries of the world precisely for this reason. And also, one has to bear in mind that that President Ramaphosa did what I believed he ought to do, and that is he's opened the way for certain key strategic industries maybe to return to work in a very controlled way, such as the mining sector, for example. So it's not a case of extending the lockdown exactly as it was. Yeah. He did say that the government is going to be looking at certain ways of alleviating the stress for some sectors that where an extension of the lockdown is really could be devastating.
It's very interesting that you mention the mining sector, because we already have rumblings from unions like AMCU who are saying very, very strict protocols must be adhered to if the mines are to open. And I wonder, Doc, if perhaps the president, when he said last night that the underlying economy must continue to function, what specific sectors was he pointing to? You've already mentioned mining, but also very concerning statement from him. He says forced majeures will have a domino effect.
Yes, we've had incidents where, for example, in the platinum sector, the industry or some of the mines have turned around and said, sorry, we can't pay you suppliers, we can't supply the goods because of this. That's so too bad. You as our suppliers must put up with the fallout. And what President Ramaphosa said is, big businesses must be a little more empathetic to their suppliers, because if they start saying, well, we can't pay you, then there's a domino effect right through the chain, the supply chain, and the impact of the coronavirus then becomes far, far worse. Rather, let's all work together and try and find ways of paying each other our dues, even when it's very stressful to do so on our activities, because in the long run, not to do so will end up being even worse than trying to look inwardly and look after oneself alone.
Yeah.
So it's a very important principle, and I think it's very well taken, certainly by me.
Final point, Doc, that I want to explore with you, a package of urgent economic measures to be developed by Cabinet. My concern is the word to be developed. How soon does government need to get on board here?
Look, already we've had a whole series of initiatives that have been put into place. The formation of the Solidarity Fund, the allowance of businesses to raid the Unemployment Insurance Fund for a 3-month period to help keep their workers on board and to pay them even if they're not actually working. The IDC fund to help certain businesses supplying medical equipment to get going, the tourism fund, a small development bank fund. I know none of these are very big, and the biggest one of all actually is the decision by SARS to allow a holiday to small businesses who have a turnover of less than 50 million rand, not to pay PAYE or provisional tax for a period of 4 months. I think those are all very useful. The other one is the break that was given to informal sector. As long as they apply for licenses, they can apply their trade. I think the combination of all these things is going to buy us time to prevent an even bigger fallout in economic activity. I've done a calculation that suggests that just over half of the economy is still functioning on a fairly comprehensive basis. So, we mustn't go overboard in saying the entire economy has stopped. There are many sectors of the economy, including myself, that are still working very hard at the moment. I think, yes, the Cabinet better get a move on to develop some more measures, and some of them are to look precisely at which sectors now need more assistance than others. But they do need to get a move on it, but I do think we may have a bit of time to actually develop these things. The crucial thing about extending the lockout, as I've seen, is to also buy us time to get our medical and health activities and processes in place, so that if indeed we start getting a spike in infections, we are better able to deal with those than would have been the case a few weeks ago.
Dr. Azar Jammine, thank you very much for your time. Chief Economist at Econometrix, thanks indeed for your time.